Good morning, everyone. Are you all able to hear me? This is Gowri Selka. Welcome to DSC Connect here. Awesome. Thanks for the feedback. Really appreciate it. Good morning. How's everyone doing? I'm really excited to be part of this conference here and meeting you all. Here you are at the session, Data Science Meet Real workshop. So we're going to spend about an hour or more together, and we're going to talk very practical tips on how we can use this technology, which has a tremendous transformation potential both for organization and also for individuals to build a positive future for all of us. That's the agenda here and how we can all contribute to that success. So without further ado, I will get started. And I'm going to be switching back and forth here from the question section, chat, and the screen. So give me like a few minutes when I'm switching back and forth here. Are you able to see my first screen? Data. Okay, I assume yes, because I see a lot of yes. So as you have seen, why this topic is so critical, even though this technology is so capable and has so much potential for us to build a really positive future, we are not there yet. We have seen more than 52% of S&P organizations have gone extinct in the last decade or so. And all of these digital native companies who got this concepts of AI, data, and maximizing the potential by leveraging the insights and value from it in an efficient manner has completely taken over the business world and the economy. So what we call it as data economy. It is sad for me to see these percentages that are still real. Only 20% of analytics insights are delivering business outcomes, and more than 80% of the projects are built successfully but still don't get to production. So, why? What do we have to do to change this? And as we have seen, more than 75% of the CEOs in the Forbes survey recently said that if they don't get this data science and AI projects to work successfully for them, their business will go extinct. So this is real serious challenge we are all facing. And my goal here is how do we make sure we are all part of the success and become part of this data economy? So let's look at what are the main reasons that are quoted around various surveys and action that have taken from Gartner to different organizations. So the six main reasons what we see across these organizations who don't get these projects right are, first one is failure to find the real business problem. Why are we even doing it? So this is not a science fair exercise. Why we are doing it, and what is the purpose, what is the outcome, what we are trying to achieve, that is not clearly laid out. That is the one of the big reason. And there are unrealistic expectations. Everyone thinks there is pixie dust and magic that can happen if you hire a data scientist from the most elite university, and that's not a pixie dust that's going to solve these cultural issues that are inherent in the organizations. And data availability, even though the data ecosystem has transformed greatly, still accessible and the quality data accessible for solving the right business problem is still a challenge. And poor project management. How are we making this decision? When to stop? Because as you all may know, data science algorithms are continuous learning activities. There doesn't need to be an end to it. So, but how do we manage those projects? How do we make sure we are not having a cost overrun? How do we make sure we are getting the right results? And how do we train our people to do that? Right? That's a lack of skills. What is the agility? What processes we should follow for these projects? And communication. As always, communication is key. And especially data science is a team sport. How do we make sure we have the right communication and alignment across a complex set of organization operations in order to get the value? And these are not new. And if you see the digital native companies who have gotten this data science projects right, have invested in all of these activities, skills, people, process, and obviously the technology. As we all know, technology has come a long way in data science. For any type of business problem we want to solve, it is easy for to find an existing algorithm in GitHub if you go search for it. And as we know, the auto ML and those type of GPTs, those are the different packages that are available today that can literally do some of this magic in minutes, not even in hours. So when the technology has democratized the access to these capabilities greatly, why are so many organizations suffering still? Because data has become everyone's business here. So that's what we're going to talk about. How is it we can contribute, irrespective of everyone's knowledge and role in the organization, how we can make data science projects real, how we can get the value. And formally introducing me, this is, I'm Gowri. I was leading data analytics division for Walgreens. And in my time in Walgreens, I've set up integrated data hub, which became a data ecosystem for a variety of analytics activities and built analytics models. And in my practitioner world, and I was there for 20 years and in this role for more than 4 years, in my practitioner point of view, what I have seen is there are enough talented people to build the algorithms and data science algorithms and solutions, but there is not enough skilled people in the organization to apply for the business need, to find the real reasons, all of the above that we just saw. And that's why I started Valansis Analytics, and our main goal is to provide project management techniques, tools, and reskilling activities in order to address these barriers. And here I am to share like how I think this can be solved and how you all can be part of it. So before we get started here, I want to take a poll to see how many people are here and what are your roles. So this way I can address this presentation according to the audience we have here. So if we can run a poll, take like a couple of minutes to select an option. And the poll should be coming up soon. I think Amelia is helping me here. So are you, any questions or any thoughts so far? Please share in the chat box here and also the questions. Do you see a poll coming up? I don't see it on my screen yet. Okay. So the poll is, maybe you can start putting in the chat box. I'm not sure like how many attendees we have here. What is your role? Are you the business analyst, like, trying to move from a historical way of analyzing data into more data science oriented analysis? Or you're a data scientist already trying to launch your career, or experienced data scientists who have seen some of these challenges, and are project managers who is trying to manage these analytics projects, which are obviously very different from the traditional projects. That's what I'm and also the product manager, Craig. That's exactly true, because there are just so many capabilities. How do you really transform your business model using these capabilities? That's what I just wanted to see a count. And the poll is not here yet. So I just, I'll just look at the chat for a couple of seconds here to see who we have, so we can talk about the topics in a detailed manner to address that audience needs. So I see data scientist, student, production operations, sales ops. That's great. So there's like data analysis and communication. That's awesome. I'm so glad they're doing that course here, Kara. Manufacturing professional. That's great. So we have like a lot of these practitioners and people who are looking to apply the data science concepts here to maximize your business value. That's tremendous step that you're taking to transform your knowledge and being part of the community, and also to learn these new techniques and help the organization. That's really very commendable initiatives that you all are taking here. So I'm not sure how many people are here, but I have gotten most of you, at least the response, what I have seen here is all on the business analyst or operations and project manager, product manager. So let's get started here. So what is the reality today? Like, yeah, the business side, like completely, it is a full transformation. Last couple of years, we have been in this pandemic. Now it has become endemic, and which has completely transformed the way we do business. Digital transformation is still continuing. I think we have come a long way in the workforce transformation of digital, using digital capabilities, but the business models and the customer needs have to be met differently. And as we can see, we have supply chain issues to customers are looking for different ways to do business completely. Our food habits, our daily lives have completely changed. And there are so many ways to continuous learning now, the gig workforce, and we see this big retirement or exiting the workforce movement that's going on. So as you can see, the whole lifestyle has changed, and obviously the organizations have adopted this very quickly. And the big challenge here is the data, whatever we have collected for last decade consistently, may not be representing what we want in the future as well. So there is a lot of need to analyze the data with a lot more business acumen than ever before in order to get the value out of this data science. So let's see why most of the projects are failing today. And what is the reason? We treat the analytics projects today in the same way we used to treat the traditional projects. When I say traditional projects, it can be just creating like new digital channel, right? Like, selling through e-commerce or implementing ERP, you name it, any of those business initiatives that the organization used to take. We just provide the business requirements at a high level and the goals, and we will give it to the either technology team or a diverse cross-functional teams, and we expect them to create the right solution based on the requirements that are already defined. And then we validate it, and then do user testing, and then we deploy, and then we all are mostly happy. But in the analytics projects, most of them are doing the same thing. We just say, hey, I want to improve my customer retention. I want to reduce the cost for my marketing. Or, I want to improve my, customer, the NPS scores, right? It can be anything. So, or like, reduce my defects or efficiency of finding defects in my manufacturing, improve product quality. You just name it. There's just so many different use cases that we have. We just provide those goals, and we expect the analytics solution to be developed. Or even better, we expect a product that's already AI enabled. Can anyone find a product in the industry anymore that doesn't say I'm AI enabled product? We don't. So we just assume that they are providing those capabilities, and we try to apply them into our business. And ultimately, the recommendations are not aligned, and the decision makers do not understand what those means. And it just creates a lack of trust and complete chaos. And ultimately, the project just gets shelved, and we just go back to the normalcy of what we were doing before. So is this anything surprising for anyone? And do you have any different viewpoints? Please add the question, because I would like it to be more interactive. I'm not sure how many people are here yet. But if it's a smaller group, it will be really great to have a more conversational discussion here. And which leads to, the results, what we are seeing in today's world, which is, and the data scientists are, who are really engaged in these projects are also frustrated. As we have seen, the turnover has been a big challenge for many organizations in retaining data scientists. And the data quality issues are also a challenge. As we all know, what we put in is what we are going to get. So it's really important for us to be engaged in all of these activities through a diverse workforce here. So what do we have to do at a very high level is we need more increased commitment and investment from leaders to develop data literacy within the organization. When we say the different, like the product managers who we just saw, like they want to apply, they need to be having the understanding of how do we apply this technology, understand the current state of business model, where we can apply in transforming that. So it's not just doing the same activity using different tool set, but how we can do it differently. Oh, now we have the poll here. If anyone is interested in the, taking the poll, but I'm just going to continue in the sake of interest of time here. And AI, as we see, is a team sport. We need to make sure there is right mindset, and we just don't throw off the fence and we expect the data science team or data analyst team to do the magic. And how do we improve the innovation and the throughput and the cycle of doing all these activities? That needs to be measured. And most importantly, if based on the industry, based on the industries, you have to make sure the ethics and compliance becomes even more important. We have seen many different challenges and regulations and policies that are coming up across the globe, both at EU and in North America here, who are very stringent policies are coming. So how do we make sure we build a solution that are adaptable with these policies? So are you able to see the polls and any questions? So I see most of them are analysts, and there are you all able to see the polls? So I don't need to go over the polls. I'm assuming you can see the results as well. Oh, no poll. Oh, I see a poll. If you see at the bottom of the screen, there it says it's poll. Okay, great. We can see results. Awesome. That's great. So most of them are like students and analysts. That's really awesome. So because this is really geared towards, and even the data scientists as students, right? Like what I have found in my last few years engaging with the variety of data scientists are, they just are not trained enough to apply their technology skills in a way that business teams and the cross-functional teams can understand them. So that has been a big challenge as well. So I'm great that you're joining this discussion here, because you can clearly see where you can translate your technology information, technical information into business-oriented way, and how you can engage your diverse workforce here. That's what the benefits that data scientists will get out of this discussion. And for the product managers and business analysts is really, where do you want to be engaged and what kind of skill set you have to build. So that's what we are going to be discussing in the next 30-40 minutes or so. So as you can see, you know enough about artificial intelligence, machine learning at a very high level, I'm assuming. As you can see, there are very powerful ways of transforming the business model, right? So you can use especially this deep learning and speech recognition, computer vision. These are all technologies that are readily available that can completely change the way you do the business. For example, like if you're in the customer call center, you can take some of the voice recordings and you can understand the sentiment, and you can clearly provide guidance to your customer service representative. We could never do that before efficiently. Now you can do it, and these capabilities can be implemented in relatively short time with higher amount of efficient solution as well. So what is really preventing us is really understanding the product managers and the business owners who own those business processes need to be aware of all these capabilities, and they really have to think through what is my current business process is, what is my current state, where are the blockers, and what is it I can do to completely transform it, so you become like a digital native organization, like what we have clearly seen, like Airbnb or Netflix and Amazon of the world. All of them have clearly changed and completely transformed the way we do business using these capabilities. So the first thing is for organization is the product managers, the project managers, and the business owners clearly need to understand what these capabilities mean at a high level and translate them into their current business model, and where we can completely transform to either improve customer service or retain customers, obviously, and increase market share, reduce your cost, increase revenue. So all of those business goals, what we want to achieve, how we can apply this, so that has to be really clear before you begin any of this journey of implementing a solution. And next step that needs to be taken is, how does your life cycle really work today? Right? Did everyone lose the session? Are you able to hear me still? I see some message here that someone lost the session. I'm assuming I'm not seeing a lot more, so you're good. So let's get into this business life cycle here. How, as we saw before, these analytic solutions are not typical solution that where you can create complete requirements and you can hand it over to a team of capable professionals and you expect results. That is definitely not going to work, because it is going to be driven by the data what you have and the quality of data. There's just so many several aspects of it that needs to be considered in order to clearly articulate what are we building, and it has to be done in an iterative manner. When I say iterative manner, it's not just like agile and scrums that are already proven. Again, those agile and scrums are what we have done in the last decade or so, is taking the existing scope and delivering it in a meaningful manner that provides value. That is very different from, we may not know all of our requirements. We don't know how exactly we are going to get the value yet, because we don't know enough about the data, what we have, about the business need, what we are solving. So this has to be done in a real iterative manner, in by going through this multiple phases that is already defined in the CRISP DM. Like, as you know, CRISP DM is one of the standard methodology that everyone follows in data science solution development. But here, the important thing is, how do you work through those processes? How do you perform those activities in a very collaborative manner and in an iterative manner, so you exactly know what you're building, and you can also make these key decisions that this is not the right problem and we are going to stop here. Those are all very important, so that we reduce the wastage that we currently see is about 70 to 80%, as we already saw. So I'm just going to take a pause. Any questions or comments before I go into the details here? Okay, I don't see anything, so I'll continue. So the first phase here, what we want to be clear in this is, again, as I said, AI ML capabilities. How are you going to apply into your business model? What is it it's going to really transform? And what are the real problems? And what is the impact of those business problems now? And what benefits we want to achieve? So this has to be a business-owned activity that needs to be done and supported by AI and data science experts who can clearly articulate the capabilities to the business owners. And this has to be done by the business owners first, or product managers, you say, but this has to be done with the business and create very clear picture of why we are doing what we are doing. So it is not just like a technology activity. And then the next phase, what happens in the data sciences, data collection and exploration. So I just call it as like three stories or the epics, whatever you want to call in your methodology here. But these are like three big chunks, and there has to be clear entry and exit criteria that we want to have in each of these in order to make sure that we are creating the right information. As you can clearly see, each of these activities will continue to build what are your requirements and what is the approach, what you want, what type of algorithm you want to build, right? Because as you know, data science has machine learning has so many different variety of solutions available, but it has to be selected based on how you want to build it. And that needs to be driven by the business. And also the most important thing that you also get out of this exploration phase is your business insights. You gather so much of information through the exploratory analysis. Are we translating them into the business insights? Because from a couple of engagements we have done, what I consistently hear from our users are, oh, I never knew that this was happening, or I never knew that this is how this process was working. This is how the customers are engaging with us. There's just so much of details that comes out of all this exploratory analysis. In today's world, it's just done in a siloed manner by the set of people who are technically capable, but neither interested or nor have the business acumen to convert them into the business insights. So it is very important for the diverse team to be engaged on how to engage it with some basic skill set, so you can translate those findings into key business insights and decisions that will be helpful for this project, what you're working on, but also in the future as well. And that is the data collection. So when you're collecting the data, it's important for you to understand what data is being collected, and what is the quality of the data, what is the consistency of the data, where is the data coming from. So all of those information have to be clearly tracked down and understood by the business sponsor, who is going to be accountable to operationalize the solution. So what I have seen is this is one of the key points that becomes a hurdle when the solution is going to be deployed to production. All of these questions come up, and which is obviously very late in the phase. So any comments or questions so far? Are you all aligned with what I'm saying? Anything? Any feedback? Okay, it's a quiet group. Early morning. Okay, I will continue here. So that's a data collection and exploration phase. The main exit criteria here, what I recommend is to make sure, do you have the right data to address the business problem what you're solving? Do you have the quality of data, trust with the data what you're selecting here? And do you still see the business problem what you're trying to solve is still existing based on your data? Because when you analyze those visualization patterns, you will clearly understand whether your business problem, what you thought it was there, was just a intuition, or your data is supporting it, right? So that is exactly what we want to address it here. Because if you don't have the data to address your business problem, or if you don't have the quality of the data, if you don't trust the data, this is the time you just stop right there. You should not even be continuing on that project. So you can clearly see how you can put controls in avoiding wastage in your organization first. And so that will build the foundation of your scope. And also if I the mainly whether validating your business problem, that's what you get out of this first phase. Then you will go into the second phase of this crisp DM, which is your model experiments, features based on the data, based on the patterns, what you've seen. What are the real features, and how are you going to really solve this business need, and what algorithms are available, and is the data, and how you have to transform and prepare your data to fit with that particular algorithm approach. So that's what you're going to do here. And here, like as a business owner and as a product specialist and project managers, you're going to look at whether these features are aligned with the business operations and the data what you're generating. How is that aligned with your success criteria? Can you leverage them to apply for your operational process? And what is your risk factor, what you can take as well? That becomes a very key aspect in this phase, because the algorithms can be really robust, like as you know, which is like the neural networks and automated way of doing those analysis. The more robust algorithms are harder to explain, while the base simple algorithms are easier to explain. Do you want human intervention? What kind of business risk you have if you operationalize the solution? Those are the discussions you should have as an organization here, and make sure those are documented as part of your business requirements. And so that will create are you ready to adopt that recommendation, what you will get out of this data science implementation? And is your organization ready to operationalize it? And what is the risk to your organization? Is it aligned with your governance? Is it aligned with your policies? And is the data quality is going to be maintained as you are transforming your business scenarios and other business systems? So those are all the important discussions that you need to have here, and make sure these algorithms and the recommendations what you will get is going to be aligned with your business process. And finally, when the model is ready to be deployed, how are you really selecting the model? I know we have had multiple discussions with the confusion matrix. I think it's named right. What is a confusion, right? Like many people do not understand whether the confusion matrix is addressing the business needs or not. So how do you translate all those complex performance factors that you use to analyze the validity of the model, like sensitivity, F1 score, you name it, all of those, how do you translate them into the business terms so the business team and the project and product managers will understand whether this model is delivering to the success criteria of what has been established from the business point of view? And then obviously the last one is, after we deploy to production, how are you going to monitor the drift? And who is going to be involved in converting the model outcomes into the business criteria, so you can assess the impact on the business based on this deployed solution? So those are all the different ways that you need to be engaged from a diverse team. And why is a diverse team important? Because not any particular team is going to have all of this knowledge. It's just impossible for them to have operational business knowledge and cost, budget, accountability, and the most important thing, the technology skills as well. So this diverse team, when you bring an agile team of business analysts, project managers, and a proper sponsor who understand all these complexities, and the right data science team and the technology and tool together, you can make magic. And that's how the businesses can succeed in this digital economy. And we're going to go into a little bit more details of what you can do. Any questions so far? I don't see any questions here. I just want to take a couple of minutes pause. Is it any questions? Is it aligned with what you're thinking? Are you doubting whether this would work? Thanks, Paramita, for your feedback here. Appreciate it. Okay. I will continue if you don't have any questions. Oh, I do see a question here. Sorry, I just saw that. So the question is, agile methodology emphasizes on MVP, whereby the business investing 2 to 3 months to get the data ready. how we can convince the business team on this. So I think, Lim, it's a great question. It's a practical challenge what we have, right? I think this is the unrealistic expectations that is existing in the organization, because the leadership team who's sponsoring or who's responsible for making this technology to transform the business obviously does not understand. So there needs to be a proper orientation of these different organizations like the business and the business sponsor ahead on what is really capable and what is even possible with this, right? So that's why I think it's important, like as we see here, the first epic. So the business team, let's say they even understand the capabilities, and everyone thinks their data is perfect, right? I still have to meet anyone that says like, oh, I don't have data for this. All of our intuition is like our system is perfect, our data is perfect, right? And we have the data, we just need the answers. And execution is key, right? Time to market is key. All of those have to be appreciated. But that's why when you create a project plan and clearly say, we understand this is how you're going to get your benefits. I'm assuming you can see my mouse here in the prerequisite phase, making it really clear with adding few questions around your business process. How are you going to really see the impact? Do you have a way to operationalize it? And what is it you're expecting out of these solutions? Spending more time, a little bit more time, and getting those information. And when the data collection phase, if you cannot see the right set of data, it's important for you to articulate that. And also making this data, making this organization who's preparing the data to be part of this MVP team is also very important. From my point of view, because without having all of those organizations, all of those teams as part of the data science life cycle, it just becomes like, throwing activities from one team to another. And there's no one looking at the business outcome at this point of time rather than individual team. So that is a challenge I see. I hope that addressed your question, Lim. And yeah, I think business benefit is completely true. So I will tell you, like, one of the organization where we just worked on, the business benefit was very hard for them to understand. But what we had explained was this was more like a customer approval model, right? Like whether should we provide this service to them or not, how much should we charge? So at a very high level, that was the purpose what we did. And what the data science team was able to suggest to them was, these are the different outcomes we can provide, the recommendations we can provide. What is your business opportunity cost if we don't address this now? It's important for them to articulate that, and before you can clearly demonstrate whether you can change it or not. If you don't even have an opportunity of the current state assessment to, an opportunity to understand the current state and what are the potential benefits, what you can get, if that discussion is not happening, I will tell you that most of these activities are not going to be adopted, because sometimes the business owners can come and say, this is not providing the benefit what I expected, and all of these weeks and months of activities that went in will be thrown away. Does that make sense, Lim? I know, like, there are a lot of people who, and I will tell you, that's why you're seeing 70 to 80% of failure still, because the cross-functional teams who have to come together to implement these solutions really do not understand. I will tell you, this data science team who was working with the business owner was not articulating this life cycle ahead of time. They have not communicated these life cycle. They have not communicated the ownership and actions that the business or project managers have to take in order to make this successful, was never articulated to the business team at all. So they're just like going by, oh, if I give this business problem, if I give access to data, this data science team will do the magic and give me the result. That is an unrealistic expectation that is causing a lot of this churn. So I will ask you, many of you, um, oh, Lim is saying like communicated, but business end up not there to commit. And yeah, exactly. That's what happens, right? I think it is also a leadership problem as well, right? Like the business have to be clear that if they don't make any of these changes, they are not going to be adopting and able to implement the data science solution. That is a big challenge that we are facing, right? So that's why if you see Gartner or any research organization, everyone is saying data literacy and engagement from the diverse team is very important, and the leadership has to provide those structure to make these concepts to be successful, right? Just hiring the data science team alone is not going to do the magic, and there's enough data points to say that's that is not working today's world. So any other questions here? And because it's unfortunate that you're not able to speak, so I just have to look through this chat to know your viewpoint. I know I'm not saying this is easy to do, and this is already happening, but you have to start changing the project life cycle for data science in this manner, because without that, it is most of the problems or most of the solutions are not going to address the business problem correctly, and it's always going to be a challenge when you are ready to deploy it in production. Or what I also suggest for organizations who are not matured enough to start on this, or even to start conversation on this path, is even the data science team should work in this manner and provide proper business requirements clearly in your bi-weekly or weekly updates to your cross-functional teams, and provide those information in the business terms by yourself as much as possible, and ask them to fill in the gap what you're not able to you are not able to complete, because that will open up the conversation. Because what I have seen is, again, most of the teams are not doing it in an intentional manner. They're doing it because they just don't have the knowledge to engage. They just think data science development, project development is like a black box, and they don't need to be involved, or they're not given the time to get involved. Those are all the typical reasons why the other team members are not able to engage properly. And some of the data, how many of you have data science projects run by a proper project management, like we typically do traditional projects, or the data scientist itself is doing all the project management work as well? Just put that on the chat, because I'm just curious, because that is another trait I have seen that causes a lot of challenge, because the data scientists all run the project management as well. So it becomes very overwhelming to develop a solution, understand the business problem, and also manage the project. So how do you really streamline some of these activities and leverage the existing project managers to do some of these analytics as well? Because ultimately these data science solutions would have to work along with the broader operational plan for the business to get really the value out of this. So it's not just like pilot or MVP or just a POC activity. So that is, I think, is yeah, exactly. That's, I think, as Ken said, I think that is the whole structure, the operational structure, the organization team structure is very important. It doesn't require to add new people, because there is always a myth in the organizations like, oh, if I provide structure for all these data science solutions, then I'm adding cost or adding time. No, most of it is not, because at the end of the day, all of these activities are done by the data scientists, and typically in some organization they are paid very high, and you are really utilizing a very expensive and experienced and knowledgeable resource to do some activities which can be done by your existing resources as well. So how do you really think through all this? So as I said, I think the important thing for the organization is to understand these and really get the right leadership team to be aware and understand it's a team sport and provide some of the structure so these activities can be done in a with a diverse team. Does it all make sense? I know it's definitely not pleasant. I will tell you, and this is like all Fortune 50 organization. I'm working with Fortune 500. Of course, I come from a Fortune 20 organization as well, and I will tell you, this is not a problem with type with the size of the organization. This is a challenge I'm seeing across the board. So that's why this topic is very passionate for me, because I think by applying some of these data literacy and the change and process and the proper tools to support these, the organizations, one, can be more successful, and two, can also help their workforce to become more data literate and be more relevant in this changing world here. So that is, I think, is very important for all size of organizations to address them. So you want to make sure like you have a proper tool as well, like as the size of the organization and the amount of activity changes, it's important for you to have a proper tool and proper methodology to streamline these activities so these different players can engage in a productive manner and you're not spending a lot of time in meetings. Another challenge I see is most of the time is spent in meetings talking about a lot of the discussions on this is a data, this is a scope, and and they're all lost, right? They don't translate in a digital manner that everyone can refer to it when when it goes to production, or when after production to maintain maintain the solution, right? So it's important for you to have a proper tool and methodology in order to implement these solutions in a manner that it makes it easier for people to engage as well. Because sometimes the concepts can all make sense, but if you don't have the proper structure like tools and people and leadership to support it and the culture to adopt, it's just not going to it's not going to happen, right? So it's important for you to consider those as well when you're implementing these solutions. But thank you for all the discussions here. Really appreciate it. And then let's talk about, we just talked about this. So what does this diverse team really mean? So we want the business team. When I say business, it includes project managers, product managers, all of them who own the implementation of the solution. That's what I have I have included in this business team. So they should be developing the use case and own the business outcomes ultimately, and validate the data exploratory activities and the model development approach. I think that is very important, even though my goal as in this industry practitioner is to really elevate the level of skills in this team so they can also be engaged in the data exploration even before they give this idea or use case to the data science team to really develop a solution. That would be an ideal state, but I understand that's not going to happen anytime soon. But we have to change, has to happen in an iterative manner, right? So transformation is always quiet, right? It just doesn't happen overnight. It has to happen in a more iterative manner. My goal is this, by reskilling the business team and the data, the project managers, those the data engineers even can start understanding whether we have the data, why are we even solving the problem, do some basic analysis even before they engage the data science team would be ideal. But the data science team, because with so much of auto ML and algorithm that are readily available, these skills are easier to learn, right? I think those are the mindset that's required. And the data science team obviously need to build the the algorithms and models and make sure the business success criteria is met. And then obviously the technology team has to be involved in the ops, right? Like as we all know, the ML ops is one of the popular activity and function now. And the whole technology team needs to understand what it takes to deploy a data science model. How do you maintain it? How do you version it? There's just lots of cool technology solutions that are available in the industry now. So this is how I see as a cross-functional team that can work together in order to maximize the success and value out of this data science capabilities. So yeah, I think you can see Kent is saying, lead data science is part of the business team. Yeah, absolutely. I think, the data science has, it has to be an agile, diverse cross-functional team. It should not be like, organizationally divided. I see it like it has to be one team, right? All of these three, the people with these different skill sets have to work as one team. And Ashwin asks, like, do you have any suggestions on how data scientists should pitch a structured template to the higher ups? Ashwin, you can contact me. I can share with you some of this, things that what I have seen work. What I suggest is really help one at a, go in a more iterative manner, again, one step at a time, so you don't overwhelm based on your maturity of the organization, right? It's important to provide some case studies and walk them through a use case on what the different types of matured organizations are doing and how does it impact their outcomes. I think it has to be said in a storytelling manner, right? So that's what I would suggest. So based on this, let's go deeper. What do we mean really by the business requirements here, right? Because that is really the essence of a glue that keeps all these activities together between these teams. And how do we make sure it's done right? So first of all, we have to be clear why, and the data has to support this intuition or this idea that came from the ideation phase. That is very important. And then the project scope has to be what, and that is where all those details of how are you really going to solve, what type of models it's going to address, those information are going to come from the project scope perspective. And then the requirements document has to be created with the analytics, right? That is the key part of it. So prior to this, in all the traditional projects, we just created requirements document and based on the business process and flow and the technology capabilities only. But now in the data science world, it is very important that the requirements have to be created with the data analysis. Without that, it's not a complete requirements at all, right? So how do you collectively develop this is really the essence of this framework, what I'm proposing here. So the first thing is the data requirements. What are initially it starts with what are the opportunities, and these opportunities are driven by the technology capabilities. As we have seen, one example is like when the websites and e-commerce came first introduced in early 2000s or late 2000s. Every organization thought like we can do the same thing but just provide a click button in e-commerce to say purchase this here, and that becomes an e-commerce activity, right? That's really not what it is. The customers really wanted an omni-channel way of searching in the retail, buying it through e-commerce, or searching through e-commerce, or sending it to the store. They really want an interactive way, integrated way to interact through all these different channels in a cohesive manner. That's what the customers really wanted. But we just started off when the e-commerce came, was just giving first we started off with providing the details of the products. Then we provided to buy it there, right? So similarly, we think in the data science is going through similar evolution. Like when I say data science, AI solutions, all of those combined, right? It's going through similar evolution. People just think, oh, I just know at a high level, data science can do, let's say, text analysis. So can you just go through all my customer service documents and do this and provide this output, right? So they're just going at a very high level, but what they don't understand is there's all this analysis and structure that has to be in place in order to make sure we understand the right problem, and do we even have the data to support it? Is it even consistent? And whether the solution will really work? How many data science solutions we have seen that is not, that has been turned off, right? Like in the industry, because we did not go through these processes correctly, right? I think that is the key thing that most organizations don't understand, right? Even Amazon, right? Like with this very popular example we have seen in the industry, they had this HR solution that was biased and that was turned off. Why? Because the people who really understand the business policies of hiring, business policies of this data, were probably not engaged in all these detailed creating these business requirements based on the data what they have. So that is the key thing what is the organization still have to learn. So when you're looking through the scope, it's important to look through your data sets and all of the data analysis that happens. What are the outliers and missing data, right? Like all of those exploratory analysis what we typically do in a data science development, how does it translate from the business perspective? That is very important to understand. So without knowing that, we are just going to assume that we can solve this business problem using the data, and it will be incorrect data, like we just talked about this HR example. And what is the success criteria? So for example, like in this one, like we started off many times I've seen this, we start off saying we are going to address all of this business process and scenarios with this particular solution. But then when we really look at the data, we realize, oh, this is only applicable for these process or this business segments or these type of customers, or this type of scenarios, right? So those are the important details that has to translate into the scope based on the data analysis. I hope that all makes sense. I look forward to any questions or comments. And then the success criteria. How do you really have a measurable criteria of getting the results? What results you really expect from this data science solution? What does it really mean from the success criteria as you're going through the transformation phase? As I believe Lee was saying earlier, we cannot create the benefits unless you complete your data analysis, right? But you don't need to completely do the full model development. Based on your analysis, if we have this communication channel, if you have this engagement and structure, we can articulate what can be done, and we have enough data to assess the benefit. So even you can stop the project or rescope the project based on these informations that's available now. And then what is the expectation? Are you going to automate, right? Like this HR example, going back to the same HR example, it was just rolled out without probably not having enough human intervention, or and not understanding how it's affecting the outcome of obviously the candidates who are applying were impacted. That's probably was not even considered, was set as an expectation for the model, right? How is it automated? Is it completely, is there any human oversight? Or what is the risk to the organization because of this data science solution? Is it going to affect the credibility of the organization? Is it going to affect the any humans engaged in this process, in this case the candidates, right? So those are all the questions that has to be clearly discussed as part of this model expectation and documented, and get sign off from all of these stakeholders who are responsible to operationalize the solution, right? And this may sound like, oh, how do I do all this? It just sounds very complex or bureaucratic. It is not. You're already doing, even though you're doing all your data science work in a siloed manner, which is the reality, unfortunately, in most of the organizations, you're still sharing your information in your weekly meetings or through your outputs. All I'm saying is start communicating in this manner. this is what is my success criteria, this is what I think is the scope based on my analysis, and this is what I think, this is how it's going to be operationalized. So when you ask these specific questions, even though the activities that you're already doing now, I will guarantee you your level of engagement and your level of output is going to tremendously increase, because your other team members are going to really understand how to engage in this data science development. And finally, the approval. I think we have like about 10 minutes left. So does it all make sense so far? So how do you really do this, right? Like, these are like just more like details of what we already talked about. So I'm going to probably skim through this. During the data analysis, make sure you're emphasizing on the data quality. And for the people who are here, like according to the polls, what we saw, there were like most of them were, of course, data science students. So I hope like, you are thinking this way when you are developing your solution now, and you're able to articulate it that way to your stakeholders. And for the project managers and the business analysts and product managers, you have to really focus on what kind of skill set that I have to develop. And it doesn't need to be very robust. All you have to do is basically understand the capabilities of the data science, what is available through AI and machine learning capabilities in today's world, very high level, at least have an understanding. And secondly, build some data literacy skills around reading how do I read the data, how do I assess data quality, how do I read some patterns, like if somebody gives me like pair plots or obviously even bar charts, right, like all those different box plots, how do I really basically read that? And importantly, know what questions you should be asking when you're looking through those artifacts, what you have. I think that is the key skills that the project managers and the business analysts can develop, which will really help you to move from being a business analyst with historical type of data analysis into being really engaged and a driver or enabler for the AI driven solutions in your organization. So this is like get the data quality, look through the attributes, and provide this model expectation. As I said, like what type of model we want, and what kind of data patterns we have, and what would change potentially. As we all know, in based on COVID, it is very clear that the scenarios can completely change. If that happens, how is this model going to behave? How are we going to assess that? I think Lim was commenting, before planning for the detailed project plan is really true. Thank you, Lim. And also the important thing is, like, most of the business solutions what you have seen has failed because no one really talked about the business risk or operational plan. And is it like really having a human intervention, or what is the attributes that are important in the algorithm? Those are the discussions, believe me, it just doesn't happen in most of the implementations of what I see, which is really sad when I see that, because these are like simple things that the teams can do that will completely change the trajectory of your outputs, what you will get. And these discussions, when you're going through those different phases, will greatly help in improving the conversation here. And also the bias, right? Like, and by engaging the different diverse team, you can really think through these different biases. So these should be part of the approach what you are going through as you're going through the development here. So do I have the enough data? Like, we've seen it enough number of times, like how the data represents only one particular type of customer or business, or say a geographic area and whatnot. Those kind of analysis to say, do we have a data, and then do we have some recommendation systems, like what type of interactions those are learning. And obviously the other types of biases are like, I'm not able to switch my screen here for some reason. Are you able to see me? See my screen still? Oh, I'm not sure what happened here. I'm not able to switch. Um, so those are the bias type of questions can be it needs to be included in this discussion, and it needs to be included in the requirements and success criteria as well. So you can make sure you're creating the right solution here. Um, Oh, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not able to switch my screen at all here. Anyway, does this all make sense so far? How much more time we have? Like, I think 5 minutes. So, any questions so far? So what I would suggest is, I don't know whether Amelia is there. Amelia, can you help me to get my screen control back? I'm not able to move my screen to the next page here for some reason. Um, Okay. Anyway, I think I'm at the close of the presentation here. So the important thing is how three things I will say takeaways. Be really clear. Like no matter, I understand totally. Most of the organizations are not matured enough to run an analytics project the way it has to be done. So use these principles to talk about the structure what we talked about. Like even if you're doing it alone as a data scientist, how do we data alone, how do you make sure this structure is followed will take you a long way. If you're a project manager and a business analyst, make sure you're building those data skills and these research questions. And if you're interested in knowing all of the research questions that you should be asking, talking about, or if you want a copy of it, feel free to contact me. I'm there on LinkedIn, and you can go to valances.com. You can find me there as well, whatever works for you. But it's important for you to have those research questions, at least at the minimum. So this way you can engage in those discussions effectively and make sure you're having the right type of business requirements developed and right information available for your data science solution to be developed in a manner that addresses clearly your business needs, and we avoid those 6 pitfalls that we saw by being clear on your operational plan. It's not too late. It's never too early to talk about the success criteria and operational plan. When you're in the ideation phase, you should start thinking about it. When you're going through some data analysis, you should refine it. You should be really clear on what is the scope it's applying towards. So all of those decisions you can do even if you don't have a high amount of data literacy skills. And my recommendation is start from a point that where you are, but at least start understanding the process and start asking those research questions to begin with, and with the idea that you have to be really clear on how is the solution going to be built and what is it going to address and what outcomes it's going to provide. So I will stop there. I think I have only like 3 minutes left. I will stop for any questions or comments because that I can address in the next couple of minutes we have here. Any questions, comments? Are you all able to hear me? Oh, I'm not sure whether I'm not audible anymore. Are you all able to hear me? Oh, okay, great. Thanks, Kent. Thanks so much for being a big support here and providing me feedback. Really appreciate it. Any questions? Any discussions? Do you think this is applicable for you, and you can get started on this path of changing the way the data science solutions are developed, and leveraging the technology that's available. That's amazing technology, right? Like if you see, there's just so many readily available solutions there. Like we don't even really need to spend a lot of time, in creating these solutions actually. But where we are really, it's really sad to see that we are stuck in applying these solutions, right? So this is very important for us to get over this hump and really get a very positive transformative value for both individuals and for the organizations. I really thank you all for joining me here, and best wishes to all of you to be very, very successful in this data economy. So thank you. Have a great day. Oh, it looks like we have just a couple of more minutes. I'm okay. So we do have a couple of more minutes. Any questions? Thank you for all the messages. I really appreciate it. I wish we have more time. So please contact me through LinkedIn or anywhere. I'm very passionate about making everyone to be successful. Because I have been part of couple of workforce transformation where we had to restructure our organization. So I really don't want to see, most organizations don't need to do that, and I really want them to reskill their people so we can have more people understand this technology, be part of this technology. And there's just going to be so many new roles coming up, like AI ethics, ethicist, like documentation person, there's just a product evaluation individual. There's just so many new roles coming at us. How do we prepare our current workforce towards that is really key. And we all have to be the change enabler in making the organization to realize the need for that. And we have to commit to ourselves as well to learn these techniques, so we can reskill ourselves to be relevant to this data economy. So thank you all, and have a great conference. There are a lot of great presentations ahead, and looking forward to connecting with you all. Yeah, if you can send me your emails, I'm glad to share the slides. And of course, these are all recorded. I believe these are available for you to watch as well later. Yeah, I think yeah, please send me your email. There you go. Good question. Thanks for asking. This was part of my last slide and that didn't come up. But so nice to meet you all here, and best wishes to your career, and good luck with the conference. Nice meeting you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, please feel free to send an email to my email. That would be really helpful. And I'll send you the slides, and more than happy to help you all in your career journey here.